It takes several of these trucks and a staff of about 70 for the Golf Channel to get the show on air. And right through this store behind me is the brains of the operation in production control. Police and fire crews arrived on scene at the house behind me shortly before 5 o'clock after neighbors reported the house had exploded. Multiple fire departments descended on the scene at 139 Clinton Street. 5 people were injured, including the homeowner, who was taken by air ambulance to a hospital in Toledo. 4 others sustained minor injuries, including 2 children.
I never heard such a loud noise ever. And then the smoke started coming out the back across the street.
Right now, fire officials are blaming a leaking propane tank for the big blast. As you can see, parts of the house have been severely damaged. Police tell NBC 24 several windows were blown out, and the house was knocked off its foundation. So far, the fire department has not gone inside to investigate because the structure has been deemed unsafe at this point. Now, officials could not confirm the names of any of the victims, and they are continuing to investigate just what caused the explosion. Reporting in Wasion, I'm Eric Wildstein, NBC 24. As law enforcement continues to investigate, some neighbors tell me their sense of security has been compromised in this normally quiet and safe neighborhood. It's been a soggy, damp day for residents here at the Ross Park Apartments. For the second time in a year, the basement units flooded, causing all kinds of problems for those who live here. Many bands record their performances and upload them to the web, meaning you can watch from the comfort of your own home, even if you can't make it out to the show. Well, Angie, witnesses who are at the scene today described everything that happened as something they'd expect to see out of a Hollywood movie. Pool managers must test those levels at least once a day. So I conducted the same test with water samples from each of the 6 city pools. The test is done by dunking these strips into the water and matching the result to a color-coded chart. Then I compared that to an even more accurate test, the same one used by the pools. But when city pool managers found out about my test, they locked the gates. So I did the test discreetly and jumped into each of the pools myself.
This right here tonight will save someone else's life.
Neighbors and relatives were devastated to hear Joan Watson's body was found lying in her apartment, naked and mutilated.
She's a good person, and this should have happened to nobody. Should have never happened. It's just a sad thing.
After 4 weeks of searching, Elena's family wants everyone to keep the missing baby on their mind. Today, Elena's grandfather, Terry Steinford Sr., announced what the family is doing now to help bring Elena home. I'm sitting here on Boss, who's been used as one of the therapy horses here at Vale Meadows, and all of the donations that they've been collecting are going to go towards the therapy program. They only scored 9 points between the two of them in the first half, but in the second, that's when it became more of a ground and pound type game, and both teams exchanged touchdowns back and forth until Northwood finally ran away with the lead, and they really just never looked back. And I caught up with their head coach after the game, and here's what he had to say about his team's performance.
2-0 minutes, conscious and responsive, aye!
Rescue crews also use this piece of equipment here, which is called an ice awl. It has a metal tip that you can dig into the ice in case you fall in, so you can pull yourself out. And here at Bebop Records, customers have a unique interactive experience where they can search through over 15,000 records that the store has. For parents, that means if your child wants to participate in extracurricular activities, you're going to have to pay, whether that's basketball, or football, or track, or performing on stage in drama club. Around 2 a.m., witnesses say a fight broke out in the parking lot outside. As people were filing out of the bar, someone opened fire into the crowd. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll, so they say. Or if you're in a band, or maybe a mobile disc jockey, you know that promoting yourself is key. But the road to success can be expensive. Thankfully, the internet has become an indispensable tool that local musicians are using to get themselves noticed. I caught up with some of these artists, and they told me the keys to navigating the online music scene. Search crews have also spread out across the banks of the Maumee River, looking for clues that they hope will lead them to baby Elena. Hundreds of bikers, many of them Vietnam veterans themselves, accompanied the wall out of Toledo Express Airport on their way down to International Park. Thank you, Jim. I spoke to 87-year-old Richard Keeper today at his VFW post on Alexis Road. The World War II vet spent 4 years in the Army, but he spent most of his adult life at war with the VA over his medical care. The emotional scars left from the war are deep, and Keeper says the physical ones are too. Days after his discharge in 1946, Keeper was referred from Toledo to the VA hospital in Cleveland after complaining about blood clots in his leg. He was shocked when he overheard his doctor talking.
I heard this doctor say to him, "We got some blood clot cases in here we've never heard of before. Here's your chance to learn. Go to work on them." I figured right away, with my legs the way they were, he'd probably taken my legs off.
He never went back and opted to see civilian doctors instead. But the problems persisted, including kidney stones and glaucoma. The Department of Veteran Affairs refused to pay his claims because they said his symptoms were not service-connected. By the age of 30, Keeper and his wife were broke.
We lost our bank account, and it was huge because we were both selling real estate, making money. And I couldn't get a job anywhere because of my eyesight deal.
The VA nightmare continued, and recently Keeper ran into another roadblock when seeking treatment for kidney issues.
The VA in Cleveland has such a large backlog. In fact, when the gal checked me out for my kidney, I said, "How long before I hear something?" She said, "Either 12 weeks or a year."
He says that's too long, and in the meantime, he's applied for 100% disability, income to make up for a lifetime of medical coverage.
I haven't heard from him since. Lord knows when I'll hear from him, if I ever will.
Your left, new, pray for your left. Parade goers painted the streets with patriotism in celebration of veterans who serve and those who gave their lives defending our freedom. Veterans like Harry Ryko, who was moved by the recognition as he honors his fallen brothers from the Vietnam War.
They were nice to this morning. They were clapping all the way down the street for us and waving, with brought tears to my eyes because it's a Memorial Day for the veterans.
It's a day where children release their parents' hands and grab a flag instead.
Everyone coming out with the flags, and they've got their kids, and you see them excited about seeing the active military, and it's a neat display. It's really a cherished event.
And the parade route led right here to Civic Center Mall for a ceremony to honor those who have lost their lives serving their country.
It's for those who gave the ultimate price for our freedoms.
Veterans and local leaders placed wreaths on each of the war memorials. A salute to deceased veterans like Howard Braddock, whose family honored his service in the Korean War.
When I sat down in that chair and looked for his name, I almost cried because I miss him so, so much.
A feeling held in the hearts of so many on a day of remembrance.
God bless America.
And a day of thanks to the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. Eric Wildstein, NBC 24. Toledo police received a frantic 911 call around 11:30 this morning from 20-year-old Caitlin Gerber of Toledo, who reported she was being chased in her car by ex-boyfriend Joshua Purse.
Shortly after that, she reported being shot at, and as that was happening, we also had gotten other 911 calls from citizens saying that a male was shooting at a female in the car.
Gerber veered her Chrysler Sebring off of Byrne Road over a curb and into a parking lot at the Southland Shopping Center, where she was shot and killed. Purse allegedly fled the scene in the blue SUV he was driving, which police traced back to an address on Kirk Street in Maumee.
Contact was attempted to be made with the residents of this address, at which time the individual being sought barricaded himself inside the structure.
Concerned neighbors looked on as snipers and SWAT teams shot several rounds of tear gas into the home.
It's normal procedure to contain an armed individual as best as possible. Those officers were all put in place to ensure that containment and to make sure that no threats were posed to the neighbors.
Negotiations came to a stalemate. That's when SWAT teams moved in and found the suspect dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
We did not hear the shot, but that's not uncommon considering the weather conditions.
No police officers or other bystanders were harmed, but the day ends with a tragic loss of 2 young lives. Eric Wildstein, WNWO. Swimmers of all ages beat the heat this summer in Toledo's city pools.
For the price that we have to pay to come swim here with our family, it's actually better than some people's homes.
But the price you paid could have been your health. So before you jump into a Toledo pool next summer, there's something you should know. Leakage from dirty diapers and other accidents leaves behind bacteria, and if the water isn't treated properly, that could make you sick.
When you go to a pool, you're going to want to make sure that, hey, I'm swimming in safe water. As long as there wasn't an accident in there, somebody didn't swim through it, you're not going to have, your chance of getting sick is going to be very, very low.
But to keep that risk down, the health department enforces safety standards to neutralize bacteria. Here's what's important. Chlorine, which kills bacteria, and pH, a measure of acidity, must fall within these limits. Pool managers must test those levels at least once a day, so I conducted the same test with water samples from each of the 6 city pools. The test is done by dunking these strips into the water and matching the result to a color-coded chart. Then I compared that to an even more accurate test, the same one used by the pools. But when city pool managers found out about my test, they locked the gates. So I did the test discreetly and jumped into each of the pools myself. Here are the results. 4 pools tested within the recommended health standards. However, water samples from Wilson Pool and Jamie Farr Pool both tested to have almost 0 chlorine. Skoczynski offered this possible explanation.
If it's 0, then there was a malfunction someplace in that pump house that feeding system wasn't getting chlorine into that pool for whatever reason, most likely.
In an email later sent to WNWO, Skoczynski says levels at both pools were within the proper limits. But the treatment we received, combined with our test results, raises concerns.
If there's something that they're trying to hide, then I don't want my children in the pool if there are water issues, either pH or whatever.
The health department says it has not had any recent reports of illnesses related to Toledo's pools. Even so, our tests say the city fell short at least twice in keeping your pool water safe.
In the water!
And WNWO will be testing again when the pools open next season. Eric Wildstein, WNWO. Santa Claus is coming to town in just 2 days, and that means if you're not done with your holiday shopping, it's time to hop in the car and venture out to the jam-packed parking lots and crowded malls to get those last-minute gifts.
I just have a couple of last-minute things to do, and, we're trying to get it done. It's kind of hard, though. There's a lot of people.
And I came up here last night, got all my shopping done.
When did you start your shopping?
Yesterday.
Even younger shoppers know they'll have to hustle at the 11th hour.
Less lines, but there's going to be less stuff for people to buy. So.
But are they nervous they'll get it all done by the time Christmas comes around?
Not really. I got plenty of stores to go to, and I got a lot of time, so.
And a lot of the shoppers here at Westfield Franklin Park Mall say that it's the good discounts that bring them out just 2 days before Christmas.
I know this is crazy. A lot of people are out here, but I think we're just trying to get more for our money.
Shoppers took advantage of big discounts on everything from shoes to clothes and jewelry.
Can't beat those deals.
And as Christmas approaches, shoppers know the clock is ticking. Eric Wildstein, WNWO. TJ Steinfurth carries his daughter's tiny casket out of the Oregon funeral home, where family and friends paid their last respects to baby Elena. It was an emotional release for so many who spent countless hours searching for the missing toddler and holding weekly prayer vigils in their East Toledo neighborhood. A procession of nearly 100 escorted Elena's body to the cemetery, still echoing the rally cry heard so often the past few months.
Justice for Elena!
WNWO was respectful of the family's privacy as the service continued at Lake Township Cemetery, where TJ Steinfurth released this dove to commemorate Elena's spirit ascending to heaven.
We believe that today the funeral, the service, gave them some closure and some relief. We know that the baby Elena's in the arms of Jesus, and that was comforting for the family to know that.
Elena's family said their final goodbyes before she is buried, just steps away from her great-grandfather, Robert Steinfurth. 4 months after the East Toledo community came together to bring Elena home, the family has some amount of closure, and Elena Steinfurth is finally at rest. Eric Wildstein, WNWO. A recent Toledo Blade article claims Lucas County Auditor Anita Lopez is having campaign staffers fill out these media interview forms to to screen reporters' questions so she can prepare answers in advance. Democratic candidate Joe McNamara addressed his concerns with this and other ethics surrounding the Lopez campaign outside the county courthouse.
Lopez needs questions submitted to her beforehand so that her political handlers can write a script for her to answer questions.
The media interview form obtained from the Blade even lists predetermined responses to questions. I asked Anita Lopez about the article's claims this afternoon. Here is her initial response. Your response to what they said in the article about the media interview forms and how they're used in your office.
I'm sorry, could you just hold on 1 second?
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry. Could you just turn that off really fast?
After briefly speaking with two of her campaign managers, Lopez came back with this answer.
When we take that information, that is based upon making sure we provide accurate and transparent information to the public.
McNamara doesn't agree. McNamara also accused Anita Lopez of using taxpayer dollars by using staffers out of the auditor's office to run her campaign.
Lopez has been using the auditor's office to run her campaign for mayor. And we've seen lots of examples of that. That is a problem. Toledo deserves better.
Lopez says McNamara's accusations are just a desperate attempt to revive what she repeatedly called a failing campaign.
As you see, there's no script in front of me. And again, this is truly a ploy by the McNamara's campaign to distract citizens from the real issues.
McNamara says these ethical accusations are reasons why Lopez has declined to debate. Lopez says she's waiting for all the candidates to be involved. Eric Wildstein, WNWO.